There we go. Okay. So this is our, so I'm going to jump into my slides really quick and we'll talk about just resume. I find there's a lot of similarities between people's resumes. A lot of it's task focused, and over the years I've come to realize that we need to think more about what our value add is to a company. And so I think some of the tips I'm going to show you tonight, the example resume that I'm showing you, some of you may have already seen it. If you haven't, great. And if you want this resume, I'm more than happy to send it out to you as well. It's a great resume that demonstrates value add. But so we'll get to that later. But I want to start just really quick by just going the process of how we develop a resume. And so we think about what I find most people do. They think about resume as just it's a necessary evil to try and land a job, right? And so it's something we have to do. Every company, you know, whether you have a champion in the company, somebody who's willing to walk your resume up, in the end, the first thing they ask is, okay, well, send me your resume, you know, and then I can get it to my boss. And so it's really important. It's an important tool, but I think it should span more than just that part of it, just having it as part of the hiring process. So I think there's a lot of things you can get out of the resume and the development of the resume than what we would normally put into it. So I got these 3 steps here. I think they're really important in terms of understanding how to develop the resume. I think the first thing is just understanding your goals. What's the purpose of the resume? Is it to switch careers? So are you trying to leverage skills you have currently that you think will be applicable to a new career, or is it you're trying to switch positions within the same company or different companies? Whatever those goals are, or if you're just trying to better understand, you know, again, what value you add. And so really writing down, thinking about your goals, I think is really the most important step. What are you looking to get out of this? What do you think the purpose of the resume is? Okay. And then from there, what we do is we look at a self-assessment. Within this book, they really talk about understanding your strengths. And I'm not talking about your Gallup strengths. I'm talking about your strengths. Like, what are you bringing to the table when we look at your job, right? What are the skills that you bring? Yeah, what are the attributes you bring? You know, are you fluent in a foreign language? Are you fluent in Tableau? Are you fluent in Excel? Do you have some other skill that a company or another department within your company might need? And so can you leverage that? So doing a self-assessment. What are your attributes? What do you really bring to the table? And then what are you looking for? A lot about what your resume looks like really depends on what you're looking for. I met with a student yesterday, and she's got extensive, I don't know if she's on the thing, but she'll say she's got extensive veteran, you know, military experience. She's got extensive civilian experience within the military. And what she's specifically looking for, a lot of the work that she previously did really isn't applicable. And so do we really need to have that on your resume? So, and so if you're targeting this one specific company, industry, you know, role, whatever it is everything within your resume applicable to this or even needed? Do people really need to know about some of the work that you've done in the past? Okay, so doing this self-assessment, what's important to you? What are your strengths? What are your desires? What are your values, right? What do you bring to the table? And then again, what are you looking for? Okay, and I'll show you a little trick that a lot of people don't know, which I think is funny, but I'll show you a trick here in a second. So what are you looking for? What are the opportunities that you're looking for? What are you willing to leave your current job for? Doing this self-assessment is really going to help you better understand. And then also, where do you add value? Really think about projects you've worked on, problems that you've solved within your organization, right? That's a part of the self-assessment, okay? So we look at our goals. What are we looking to get out of this? We self-assess. What are my skills? Where do I add value? And then this is when you start to create your bullets. right? Your bullet points within your resume, okay? And they really should be bullet points. So really quick before I jump into the next slide, any questions just right off the bat? We good? Okay. Okay. So kind of what does the format? I'm more content than format focused personally. So I don't particularly care what's on your what format you're in. It could be a chronological resume. It could be a creative resume. It really depends on what you're looking to go into. For most of us, particularly if you're in business outside of marketing, it really should just be a formal chronological kind of standard resume with specific categories within it. Okay. Now you can get creative if you're looking to go into marketing. Then and you're fluent in maybe InDesign, Adobe, or even working in Canva, then you could probably put together something a little more creative, and that's okay. It really is going to depend on the discipline that you're looking to go towards. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions on that? But for the most part, every resume should have a header, right? That's going to include your name, your email address, your phone number. I know a lot of people lately have been, hesitant to put their address on there. I think the most important part about that is understanding that you live in San Diego. So if you're looking to stay in San Diego, just make sure that they know that you live here in San Diego. If you're looking to relocate, then that's a different conversation we can have. A lot of times, companies will start to interview and sift out resumes based on proximity. So if they're looking for accountants in Tennessee, they're going to probably search Tennessee accountants first, as opposed to selecting anybody that potentially needs to relocate. And so if you have questions on that, or you're looking to relocate, let's have a one-on-one coaching session. Okay. But you can, or you don't, you can, or you don't have to put your address on there. Okay. Does that make sense? Education is extremely important, even if you're later in your career, particularly if you're doing an MBA or an MAOL. That's really important. The other thing I would say, after your name, I would put there MBA, MAOL. Okay, and so that potentially is part of your title now. So your education really needs to be in there. What I would say is you don't need specific classes. A lot of times people will use relevant classwork for fillers. That's not needed. If you're getting your degree in business, if you're getting your degree in leadership, most of the people that are going to see your resume understand what that curriculum looks like, okay? Skills. I think this is an extremely important part, because it's a way that you can tailor your resume specific to a company. It also, it's what I call your kind of movie trailer. If I'm a hiring manager and I know I need specific skills, specifically if it's a technical discipline, accounting, finance, information systems, database management, I'm going to want to see some pretty specific skills. And so those are kind of the entry points into actually even looking at your resume. If you don't have a large ERP system, if you don't have, such as an SAP, Oracle, Workday, if you don't have specific, in accounting, if you don't have specific accounting skills, if you don't have high-level Excel skills, if you don't have Tableau, if you don't, in marketing, if you don't have Adobe or Google Analytics or HubSpot or anything like that, I may not even look past your resume. So I think that's a way that you can really have yourself stand out. Now, I don't necessarily think that you need to have it at the top of your resume. It's an option, but at some point in there, you need to have a specific skills section, and not necessarily geared towards attributes, right? Yes, soft skills are important, but a lot of times not as important as, especially at your level, not as as important as those technical skills. Questions on that? Okay.
I think Carolina had one in the chat.
Oh, Carolina, did you have a question?
Oh,
Or-
thanks.
Or Lisa did. Sorry, Lisa.
Oh, sorry,
Go
Lisa.
for it.
Lisa, did you have a question? No?
It's in the chat. She put
So
if
this
Oh,
remote.
gotcha.
This is in
Gotcha.
the chat. I can do it.
I got it right
If,
here. Oh, I got
okay.
it. Oh, I got it. Thank you, though, Carolyn. If remote is your preference, should you mention that? Lisa mentioned what, the relocation, or just that you're specifically interested in remote work?
I think just bringing it up at some point. I don't know if you put it on the resume or not.
Yeah, the remote, no. One, now, especially nowadays, I wouldn't do that because, one, there's really not a place to put it unless you're creating a summary within there, but I'm not a huge fan of a summary. But if you're creating a summary, if you're, if you write well, and you want to do that, that's one thing. But I think that, again, if a company is looking to hire potentially somebody that's willing to work remote, or if they're only looking at remote, they're going to post that within the job description. And at that point, as part of your job filter, you need to put, you need to only search for remote positions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just wondering because flexibility these days, usually the jobs are like hybrid or remote or vice versa.
Yeah, and so, and a lot of companies are going back to in-person full-time. So just that is so again, when you look at doing, say, a search in LinkedIn, you can filter by remote versus on-site versus hybrid. They've got all three of those options. And so if you're only looking for remote, you just search for those jobs. And I don't think you need to put it, actually, I know I wouldn't put it on my resume. And then you've got, go ahead. Oh, did you have another question, Lisa? No, okay. So, so then obviously professional experience, we'll go through that. Volunteer experience, if you want to put that on, that's fine. Ideally, you're, a person I was working with the other day, they had a 6-page resume and they had lots of experience, but I think if you consolidate it, many of you are not going to have a 1-page resume. It's just not feasible, and you don't want a 1-page resume. More than 2 pages is causing people to read a little too much. Okay, so anything more than 2 pages, I probably wouldn't go farther than that. You probably don't need to go farther than that. Here's the thing, though, just for aesthetic purposes, it's either 1 full page or 2 full pages. A page and a half, a page and a quarter just doesn't, it doesn't work. Okay. Okay. Next slide. I want to show you a couple of tools that I like to use. So how we typically build our resume is based on our experience, right? And we go through, okay, so what do? I do this, very task. I do this, I'm responsible for this. My responsibilities are, so it's very task driven. Not even taking into consideration the job that we're applying to. So this is some people know this. I was surprised a lot of people don't. I'm going to jump into LinkedIn really quick. So when I go to apply for a position, I go into LinkedIn, and the first thing I do is I look at the job I'm looking to apply to. And so, here's one. Here's a director of organizational development. This one's in Philadelphia.
Do you want to share your screen, Nick?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Stop sharing. Yep. And now I got to reshare. I knew that was going to happen, but that's fine. So let me reshare here. Where's my LinkedIn? There it is. So there's the LinkedIn. So what I will typically do if I'm building a resume, I want to build this resume based on the position that I'm applying to. And so if I'm applying to, say, this learning and experience designer at, or this program manager at UC Health, right? So you can see immediately, Lisa, like this one's hybrid. This one here at Meta is remote. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this resume and I'm going to, or this job description, and I'm going to say, okay, what are they looking for? First of all, does my background even match what they're seeking? And if not, what gaps do I need to fill? One of the things they talk about in this book, Pivot, is what are the skills, the strengths that I currently have, and what gaps do I have for this pivot I'm going to make? And so what I do is I go through and I say, okay, what exactly are they looking for? You know, and I'll pull out some of the things, you know, maybe specific hard skills, or maybe I'll look at specific soft skills, specific projects that need to be done. And I'll try to incorporate those into my resume. And so again, this learning experience designer at General Atomics, I look through, it looks like they're looking for, you know, a lot of different technical, again, there's InDesign, so they want somebody with Adobe Suite. And maybe you don't have that. Is that a skill that I need? If I see a lot of the positions I'm applying to are requiring Adobe, that's probably a gap I need to close in my skill set. And so if I look through the same positions and I start seeing the same things and I don't have them, I probably want to invest in that. Okay. And that's part of that pivot process, understanding what you're great at, and then understanding what gaps you have and trying to fill those gaps. And this is a great way to do it, right? You go through and you look at job descriptions and you build your resume specifically to that job description. Okay. Any questions on that?
Yeah, question on that. That's something I've heard before. And in my experience, that means like having 100 different resumes. Is that kind of, is that expected?
No, Tyler,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why. You shouldn't be applying to 100 different types of positions, right? So for example, I'm in education. I'm in higher education. I'm only looking for jobs in higher education. Most of those positions are going to require the same skills, the same background, right? And so I should be able to do that. Now, if you're applying to finance positions, accounting positions, maybe project management positions, because all three of those fit within your skill set, a lot of the times you can, use your skills section to incorporate some of those technical skills, technical abilities, but also maybe you have 3 different resumes or one standard resume and you change it as you apply. But you shouldn't have, again, if you're applying to like positions, you shouldn't have to change up your resume that much. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when you're saying tailor it, you're like saying tailor it to that type of position rather than tailor it to every single individual application position.
Yeah. I mean, which again, if we look at, here's one, again, this learning experience designer, or let's see if we can't, talent acquisition manager, right? If you're looking to go into HR or you're already in HR, every single one of these talent positions are going to be asking for about the same thing. The only thing that may change, maybe some of them utilize Workday. Maybe some of them use SAP or Oracle, or maybe they want a project management certification or HRIS certification or SHRM certification. But in general, all those talent development positions are going to require and desire about the same thing. Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on this? Okay. So I think this is, again, if you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I build my resume? This is one tool you can use. Okay. I'm going to show you another tool really quick. Let me jump into, I'm going to share my screen again. This is one it's an oldie but a goodie. I haven't used it in forever. And I started using it again because I had some MAOL students who were like, God, I'm having a hard time trying to put into words what I do. Because we all know what we do. it's just there. It's how do you put it down on paper? So I used to use this all the time. It's called ONET. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing here, and then I'm going to go back to sharing. Let's see here. Here we go. So this is called ONET Online. Okay, and it's part of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's a site that they use. Has anybody ever utilized this or heard of this? Yeah. So I'm a financial analyst, and I'm like, okay, I know what I do. I know some of the things that I do, but God, how do I put it on paper? How do I put it into words? All I have to do is go into this occupation keyword search, and I type in financial analyst, and I click on that. And there are my tasks. Develop core analytical capabilities, model libraries using advanced statistical quantitative. This is more math driven, but maintain and modify financial analytic models, research new financial products or analytics. So these are, oh my gosh, I do that. Oh, I do that. And so this basically describes all of the tasks that this person might do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And now I don't have to go out and go, okay, I know what I do. I do budgeting. So I type that, responsible for budgeting. Well, there's more than that, right? We always gravitate in our resumes back to the basic tasks. Literally, I will see people on their resumes and they'll put, yeah, keep my, and these are pretty senior level people, and they'll talk about filing and, keeping their area clean, stuff like, I'm like, what do you do? Like, what do you mean? Well, I'm just trying to, that's what I do. So that sometimes you don't need to put everything that you do on your resume, right? But if you're having trouble coming up with bullet points, use this as a reference. Now, you don't want to copy and paste this whole thing and throw it into your resume, but use this as a reference guide. And it has literally every single occupation reported to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You name it, it's in there. Okay. And so this is just a great tool, again, to better understand what those bullets look like. Okay. Any questions on that?
I guess I have one.
Yeah, Aaron.
So obviously this is pretty comprehensive. You mentioned not copy pasting to your resume. Ideally, you probably don't want to have a bullet list this long. So
exactly.
Just kind of hitting the highlights, like what do you think maybe kind of links up with whatever job you're looking at, kind of just maybe 5 or 10 of them.
Yep, exactly. Pick the one that you currently do or you have done, right? Pick the ones that you currently do that are relevant to you. And then you're going to tailor them to your specific position. But it's got great key active words. So develop, provide, research, maintain, apply. So you always want to start your bullets with those action words anyway. And so collaborate, produce, consult. This just gives you a great jumping off point, especially if you're just, I have no idea how I do it, what do I do? I know I go to work every day and I do my job. But how do I put it on paper? This is just I totally stopped using this. And then I was like, this is actually still pretty relevant. And so I like using it now. Okay. So let me stop sharing again and jump back into our, any questions? So again, use the LinkedIn job site to kind of identify what skills, what specific experiences companies are looking for, whatever job you're applying to. You can also use the company website to identify key terms or jobs that they're looking to fill, or just better understand who they are to where you can tailor your resume to that specific company. And then the ONET Online, I think, is a good tool. Okay, let's talk about our bullets. So this is where, to me, the rubber meets the road. This is all that matters. You could have the prettiest resume, you could have the most well-designed resume, and if the content is wanting, then it's just not going to get anywhere. And so what companies are looking, particularly coming up, folks, in the next few months, companies are going to be way more apt to really focus on value add. What are you bringing to the table? How are you going to affect my bottom line? Okay. So these impact bullets, how you write these bullets, and some of you may have already heard this or seen this example resume, but I just really think this is important. So again, your bullet should be kind of three-phase. What's the problem I'm looking to solve? Or what's the project I'm working on? What are the specific actions, right, that I'm taking to either get this project done or solve this problem? And then what's the result? It kind of stems from the STAR method of interviewing. What's the situation? What's the task? What's the action? What's the result? So, if somebody ever asks you, tell me about a time that you had to work in a team. Okay, here's the situation. Here was the task that needed to be done. Here were my activities within that task. And then here was the result. And so it's the same thing. We want to show impact. We want to show that we're adding value. And so when we think writing bullets, we want to make sure we have a problem, project, whatever action we're taking, and then the result of that action. Okay. And so again, what you want to focus on is, what's the scenario? What are you trying to improve? For the action, what did you do specifically? Include what skills you used, especially, okay? And then what's the result? What was the outcome of your actions? And at all times, if possible, quantify it. Quantify it, okay? So here's the thing. So what it should look like is problem, action, result, right? What's the problem I'm looking to solve? What action did I take? And then what's the result? Or you can start with the result. Then what action did I take to get to that result, and what problem was I looking to solve? Or you can start with the action, then move to what was the result of that action, and then what was the problem. Okay, let me show you what this looks like. So when you start with the action first, you say analyze historical sales trends. That's the action I did. I analyzed historical sales trends. The problem I'm looking to solve is I need to create targeted promotions, right? So I'm looking to create targeted promotions because right now my promotions aren't targeted. And so in order to do that, I'm going to analyze historical sales trends. The result is I generated 35% new subscription or no subscription ticket sales, right? So here's the action. Here's the problem I'm looking to solve. And then here's the result. Okay. You could also work it like this. What's the result? Generated 35% no subscription ticket sales by analyzing historical sales trends to create targeted promotions. Okay. Any one of those will work. Or you say, created targeted promotions by analyzing historic sales trends, which resulted in 35% no subscription ticket sales. However you write it, it needs to have these three components. Okay. Any questions on this? And I know some of you that I've met with individually I've gone through this with you, but any questions on this?
Just to clarify, this is each bullet.
Each bullet
has three parts. Gotcha.
Yes. Now, I will say this. All of your bullets shouldn't say, did this because of this, which resulted in. Did this because of this, which resulted in. Did this, right? Change that up a little bit. And I'll show you which led to, or, so I'll show you an example. But yes, your bullets, particularly your first 2 or 3 bullets. Again, we need to start with like our most value, like the most value that we're adding. That's what we need to start with. Now, not every, you're probably sitting there going, okay, Aaron, can I use you as an example? You're the turf guy, right? So not every single thing you do with our baseball fields and our soccer field needs to result in anything. Sometimes it's just a task, and that's okay, all right? But some of them need to be results oriented. Sometimes you're just doing work to do work. But what you need to think about are what are those special projects? Again, I would think, Aaron, just the care results in a savings for the university by not having to replace turf. Or, so I'm just thinking of that,
No,
whatever you're doing.
Actually pretty legit, because even when I first came in, I saw a lot of sodded areas where they just lost grass altogether, and we haven't had to sod yet, other than the projects we've actually done. And so I kind of see, even when I did actually just look at my resume yesterday, it's like how to kind of sort of not necessarily manipulate, but just kind of reword things to maybe make it sound more like, I guess in my case, I'm at least in the project management field. So at least to try to make it more project oriented rather than just a task list of this is what I do every day. So
totally. And that's it. We always revert back to tasks. What are my tasks? What do I do? And that's it. And again, nobody, a hiring manager, a recruiter, they're not going to care. They want to see what value are you bringing. And again, Aaron, for you, you're saving the university money. You're working on special projects. You're working with vendors, who supply us with what we need to make sure our turf is, in pristine, NCAA specifications. That matters.
I think preventative maintenance obviously is better than curative, and then attention to detail. So I don't know. For me, it's like, obviously I want to probably talk more with you individually, but for me, it's like, well, if I at least talk about, as you mentioned, attention to detail, meaning savings for the company or for the school in the long run, it's like, well, no matter what position or job I'm looking at, I'm going to have that attention to detail no matter what it is. So
and that's a really great point. And when I show you this resume, it'll all come together. But so I really want to make sure you understand this, right? So it doesn't matter what order it's in, but it really needs to have, the bulk of your resume needs to have this component, particularly the results. Don't tell me everything you do. Tell me, why you do it. And the results is why you do it. Your boss, and this is specifically for my undergrads, they're always putting tasks. I'm like, so why is your boss have you do? Are they only having you do this to work with customers just to give you a paycheck? No, there's got to be a result in this. They want something out of this. And so understanding that, I believe, is extremely important. Okay. This is the resume that the template that I like to use now. And this was, for those of you that haven't seen this was given to us, given to me and one of our accounting professors by a recruiter at Ernst & Young. And so now this is specifically an MBA resume, which is fine. I think it transcends all degrees at any level. And so so don't think of it just because it's an MBA, it's more relevant. Okay. As soon as I saw this, and as soon as this person sent it to me, first of all, she's a trusted value add to our university. And so she sent this, she said, this is what really is happening out there right now. Companies are really focusing on what value you're bringing. Now, we always knew that as business people is, value is important, right? We all should be adding value, but we don't understand a lot of times how to articulate it. So I want to go through just a couple of these bullets. First of all, this person, with Taco Bell, they were working at Taco Bell corporate up in Orange County, and they were doing an MBA strategic finance internship. And so I like how this is structured because immediately I can see what problem he's looking to solve. And so here in his opening, he says, MBA strategic finance intern, here's kind of my general duties. I perform strategic labor analysis that will improve the profitability of 855 company stores. So the problem that he's looking to solve is profitability focused, which a lot of times in finance is the case. If I were doing it, if it were my resume, being in higher education, being a professor, or being a career coach. For me, the problem I'm looking to solve is one, having students better understand what career opportunities there are out there. And so that's a problem that I deal with a lot of times on the tug side, or having them understand what their business disciplines could look like. Or it's maybe, assist students with salary negotiations. So the problem is students aren't fully aware of potentially some salary negotiation techniques that they need to know. So I'm helping them deliver that, which results in students, we can actually look at the numbers with our students, how much money they're getting outside of school. And so I can have a specific numeric result there. But whatever the problem is, for this one, it's profitability. And so his first bullet, he interviewed 5 operators of recently purchased stores. So just in that sense right there, I can tell that this person is well-spoken, is probably pretty professional, because the people that own franchise stores for Taco Bell are pretty senior level folks. Most of them are pretty serious entrepreneurs, have multiple ventures that they're working with. And so he's probably a really great candidate just from just that first thing. Person stores and analyzed their results and presented those results of best practices to the CFO and the COO. So second, there's another thing that I'm noticing about this resume. I know that the individual can present well. He's presenting to the 2 C-level individuals at Taco Bell. So again, I know that just clarifies the fact to me that he's extremely professional, well-spoken, presents well, understands numbers. If you're presenting analytics to a CFO, you know what you're talking about. And so just those bullets, without saying anything else, I know a lot about this individual. Okay. So, but then he goes on and says, which resulted in a program to increase in-store leadership by redefining above restaurant management responsibilities. Okay, no quantitative there, and that's fine, but there's the result of it. The next one, conducted pre-build site analysis, including investment hurdle rate, sales cannibalization, competitor analysis, demographic, traffic patterns, and visibility. Findings were presented to the CFO and the COO, which led to a $1.7 million new store investment. So now we're talking, now he's starting to get quantitative on us, right? So here's the problem again, we're looking at profitability. He's presenting to the CFO and the CEO. He's speaking with senior level franchise owners, and his actions are resulting in not just a $1.7 million new store investment, but also an $11 million investment program to improve customer service at corporate owned stores. Though, did he go, how many bullets does he have for each position? I know he was only here for 2 years. He was only here for an internship, but those 3 bullets right there say 10 times more than any 30 bullets I've ever seen in a resume, right? I look at this individual and I say, that person's going to bring value, right? This is somebody, if nothing else, I want to meet. Forget the MBA, forget that he's a Washington University alum, forget all that. Just those projects alone tell me a lot about him and tell me that he adds value. Just basically, any questions on that specifically? Does that make sense? Right? Okay. So going back to, again, he does the same thing with all of these. Now, again, not each one says resulted in, here he's doing, so here again, he starts with this co-managed $3 billion in assets, over 120 institutional individual accounts. And then he talks about identified strategic, investing opportunities with a return of 5%, so that's the result. It's a return. So he didn't say which resulted in. No, he just said, well, resulting in, but he could just say, which led to a mutual fund returns of over 5%, design mutual fund competitive benchmarking. And again, it doesn't have to be a finance person that has this resume. It doesn't have to be an MBA that has this resume. You don't have to work for Taco Bell or Facebook, Meta, or large Google, Apple. you can think, if you dig deep enough, if you focus on what my goals are, right? What I'm looking to get accomplished, if I'm introspective of understanding who I am, what I bring to the table, what gaps I need to fill, what results, what do my tasks lead to, anybody at any organization can write a resume just like this. Okay. And if all of you email me, Lisa, I think I already sent you this, but if all of you email me, shoot me an email after we're done with this, I will send you this resume. And then you can do whatever you want with it, right? Okay. Questions before we move on? Okay. So just a quick recap. So again, I want to make sure that you understand, just a recruiter is going to give you, it used to be 6 seconds. I thought that was always pretty stupid. Nobody can do anything in 6 seconds. But at a quick glance of your resume, I should be able to pull all the key skills, everything that I'm looking for, right? So again, if I'm requiring Adobe, as soon as I open that resume, Adobe better be right there. A lot of times what I find, particularly in technical resumes, they actually bold within the job description, within their bullets, they'll bold what software programs they're using or what language they're programming in, or other, and you can do that as well. If you're working with SAP, I'd put that in there, create financial reports utilizing SAP and Tableau. I'd bold those two, because what you want to do is, as soon as you open your resume, bam, the recruiter should be able to see that. Don't make them scroll. The more they have to scroll, the greater the chances you're going to get moved to the side. Okay. So at a quick glance is what they're looking. This is why we tailor the opportunity, your resume, based on the opportunity. So tailor it so when they see that they need these things, they'll be able to see them really at a quick glance on your resume. Okay. So tailor the resume to the opportunity. Show impact. That's the biggest thing I think most people lack in their resumes. They don't, oh, we got a baby in the house. We don't focus on accomplishing or what our actions lead to. You have to show me results. Again, I'm going to go after somebody who's bringing value to the table. Okay. This should be, again, in your, if you're in an interview and somebody asks you, tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult customer, and you just start throwing out a bunch of tasks and a bunch of responsibilities, it's just not going to cut it. Again, a resume can either be a one-dimensional, just got to have it for the interview or for the job application, or a resume can be something that tells people about you. Again, just looking at that gentleman's resume, I see a lot of value. And he's described himself, and he's described even soft skills, presentation skills, communication skills, time management skills. I can see all that in his resume, when most of the times you don't see it. People will put, I'm a team player, I've got great time management. Prove it, show me, prove it. You can't prove it to me on the resume, I'm probably not going to move on with it. So make sure that you're able to really look at how you can add that value. Special projects, anytime you collaborate with a C-level individual or a manager, or if you're leading teams, tell me about those teams. People always say, oh, I got great leadership skills. Prove it. In your resume, if you talk about teams that you've led and special projects that you've worked on with those teams, that's going to demonstrate to me that you actually do have leadership skills, okay? And then the last thing, I don't really proofread it, right? Get somebody else to proofread it. Make sure you're not sending out resumes with any typos, okay? Forget join handshake. I don't know why this is still on there. Forget join handshake. Email me. I'm going to put my email right now into the chat for those of you that don't have it. So it's Nick Wolf at pointloma.edu. Okay. So shoot me an email. I'm also going to give you my cell phone number, 949-294-1529. That really is the best way to reach me. So it's important that if you really want to do this on an individual basis, all you have to do is just shoot me an email, call me, text me, say, hey, I'd like to meet with you. I'm happy to do an individual coaching session, whether that's in person in Mission Valley or that's via Zoom, if that works better. Whatever works best for you, I'm here to assist you in that. And with that, I will ask any questions, thoughts, questions you may have.
I have a question.
Yeah, Aaron.
So I don't know, I guess everybody's maybe different, but I guess at what point should you not include everywhere you've worked in the history?
Yeah, I would say if it's more than 2 pages, I wouldn't do it. You know, for me, it's all about relevance. Is the experience you have on your resume relevant to the company, to the position you're applying to? And so, yeah, obviously I don't have every job that I've had, even in my professional career, post-graduation, I don't have every job. That's kind of what LinkedIn's for. So that's a good place to put a lot of that stuff. But even so, I mean, Aaron, anything prior to you know, you just don't, everything should be post-graduation, and then really only if it's relevant.
Okay. Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, obviously managerial skills as far as managing a team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of even started before, I guess, even going to college. So, but obviously it's not in a field that's probably relevant to what I'm about to maybe do. So
yeah, and project management. Yeah, you know, we could fit anything into project management. It's funny. Everything we do is project management, right? Every single task we do is you're managing a project. And so yeah, don't think too, don't get lost in the weeds there with that, with going, oh, but this is, no, that's not. And to folks, you want to find a champion. You want to find a champion within the organization that you're looking to go to. That's really going to be the kicker. But yeah, you don't need to have every single thing you've ever done on your resume. No, not at all.
So then even with bullet points, like, I mean, I guess obviously if you take the job off altogether, like I'm thinking more of like internships maybe while I was an undergrad or something, like probably take most of those off.
I probably wouldn't even have those.
Right. And then even the bullet points for past positions, if they're pretty similar, you could probably just go with most relevant or most recent position, right?
Absolutely.
And just save redundancy.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And by the way, you're all flashing that Tennessee pretty liberally now. Last year, I bet you weren't doing that. Come on, man.
Well, I take that back. Actually, I did have this Zoom thing for a year. But
they beat
easier to put it.
They beat Alabama, and look, I'm a volunteer, folks. Okay, I got you, man.
I got it on my resume that I graduated from there.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're okay.
It's on my resume. I'm a fan.
Okay. Any questions, folks?
Nick, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I recently updated my resume. It is a one-pager, but I like the suggestion of having 2 because I'd really like to expand. My some of the items that I've added are really more kind of bullet points. So I didn't want to make it too long, but I've noticed I have applied for a couple jobs on LinkedIn, and it kind of takes you over to their site. You have to kind of retype the whole thing, even though you're uploading a copy of the resume. But I have noticed that they always ask the question about pay rate. So I just want to ask you, what are your thoughts on that? Like, should we actually put in a pay range? Should we maybe say open to negotiation, or should we? I mean, I'm always kind of hesitant about what I want to put, because I feel like, as soon as they see that number, they're going to be like, okay, this one goes in the in the no pile.
Then it's the wrong number. that is a way bigger conversation that we could have. And so what I would recommend is we need to talk about that, because if you find, so negotiation, that's kind of my specialty. You need to figure out what that anchor number is going to be for you. I always use the analogy, has anybody, you go to a car dealership, everybody I hear that goes to a car dealership and buys a car, they're like, yeah, I beat them. And like, no, you didn't. You never beat them, because they set the negotiation point. They call it an anchor number. And whatever that MSRP is, or whatever that sticker price is, that's where all the negotiation starts from. They just beat you, no matter how much you get the car for. It's the same thing with you. You need to figure out what your anchor number is. Okay. So one, as soon as you put open to negotiation, or that's when I just move on. I want somebody who's going to put on there the right number. So how do you know what the right number is? Well, you need to figure out what your needs and wants are, what the market bears, and what that position bears. And that a lot of research goes into that. You should feel comfortable putting a number in there, because if you don't put a number in there, then they have the upper hand. Used to be this old saying, he who speaks first loses. That's not the case. Never has been the case. The dealership speaks first every time they sell a car by having the MSRP and the sticker price on there. And guess what? They win every time. You set the right anchor number, then they won't disregard. If it's 80, if you think, okay, so here's what I need this, I want this, market bears this, then I'm going to put this, it's 95. That's my anchor number. If it's worthy of the position, if it's what your needs are, then you got to put that number. You start that. So it's a whole negotiation tactic that we're actually going to do at some point down the road in the next couple of months.
Okay.
But if you'd like to meet about this and speak directly to this, I'm more than happy to set up a coaching appointment with you. But do not leave it blank, and do not put in there negotiable. Pick a number.
Okay.
Because then every negotiation will start from that number, and that gives you the upper hand.
Right,
okay?
right. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Tyler.
I've got one, but I think Lisa was trying to get in. Lisa, were you trying to get in?
No, I'm good. I was just joking with the.
I got you. You're volunteered. Okay, that's fine.
I love that. Question for you on, I have like a significant amount of church volunteer experience leading teams, but in applying to like tech jobs or biotech jobs, I feel really hesitant to put the church experience on there, just because there's like a culture of not necessarily being super open to that, since I already have a very ELNU resume.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you had any thoughts on that.
So let me ask you this. If that's the case, and I'm totally with you on this, Tyler, completely with you on this, but then why are there so many PLNU alums at Intuit, at Illumina, at Nuvasive, at Thermo Fisher Scientific, right? Yeah. All of whom have come from Point Loma. Again, that's not a place to, it's always going to come down to what value do you bring? If you're bringing enough value. Now, I wouldn't have my resume inundated with volunteer opportunities. Pick the best one. Pick the most relevant one, particularly if it's a leadership one, Tyler. Pick that one. But yeah, I wouldn't inundate my resume with volunteer. It should be more significant and more relevant to the position that you're applying to. That's what I would say.
No, that's really helpful.
But all of those biotech companies, tons of Point Loma alums, tons.
Super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Okay. Again, I'm gonna stop recording here. If I can figure out how to do that. Where's my recording? Sorry. Stop.